Now, you certainly don't need me to tell you how high taxes are in our area. Westchester and Long Island are always jockeying for the dubious distinction of having the highest property taxes in the whole country, and New Jersey not far behind. Now, one of the major drivers of that is obviously education spending, but that money isn't just going for books and after-school activities. A chunk of it, it's going right to the top. Superintendent salaries are higher here than just about anywhere else, and it's not just straight pay. The perks are also extremely generous. The Journal News, they've been investigating this, and it has come up with some really interesting findings. And you can read the piece right now on LOHUD.com, and also it will be the feature in Sunday's paper. Tax Watch columnist David McKay Wilson, he wrote the piece, and I recently sat down with him. I am anticipating this is the series you do that you get quite a few phone calls from both taxpayers, residents, educators, the whole kit and caboodle.
Well, the educators have been very quiet since the story popped the other day. No pushback on it because it's true.
Yes. and let's set the stage. You looked at 54 school superintendents representing the broader market that you guys cover, and you took a look at their pay packages.
Yeah, at the contracts for every public school superintendent in Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam. Looked at their employment contracts and how they changed over the years. And what I found, all the perks was very interesting to me, all the different ways they can make money.
Well, let's start off with the top of the hit parade and the Harrison school superintendent. Let's talk about both the package and also the sick day payout was amazing to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, when he retires, Lou Wool in Harrison, he's been there, he's been superintendent for 16 years, 19 years in the district. When he retires, he's going to cash in his unused sick days, which in the public sector you can monetize. He can cash in his unused sick days. He's going to get a check for $250,000 when he retires. And this is on top of, the guy's making this year $445,000.
And to give an idea, obviously you can check this all out. I'm sure there's viewers right now. Where do I find out where my school super is? Go to LOHUD.com. You can find this. David, there's always an arms race when it comes to finding school superintendents. And while certainly your coverage area is high above the national average, in Long Island, the subjects come up. They even have packages even bigger than
they're bigger. They actually make more on Long Island.
And is it just keeping up with the Joneses? They have to pay this amount to get a quality super? Because a school superintendent can really impact the quality of the education, where the kids end up going to college, depending on how they score, teacher recruitment, all those things. Is this keeping up with the Joneses, or has this gotten out of hand?
Well, it's a combination of both. It's a marketplace for these top educators in the public sector. They play the superintendents. They are schooled in negotiation, and they pit the districts against each other. And they say, well, look, this guy's getting this. I'd like it. And I'm going into retirement. What can I get when I'm going into retirement? The thing that I found was that the longer that the superintendent stayed, which can be a good thing in a district, the more expensive they became, because every time they would renegotiate the contract, they'd add more in. And
also accumulate all the unpaid
the cashing in of the sick days, the cashing in of the vacation days.
Is that where you found some of, egregious may not be the right word, but surprising parts of the pay package? Wasn't necessarily the base salaries, but was the perks that came attached to them.
This cashing in of the vacation days. Well, and I did find one district, Brewster, where they gave her another 5 days, but the school board had never authorized it, and they just did some retroactive work on that last week. But yeah, it's these perks, the cashing in of vacation days, cashing in of sick days.
Some lifetime arrangements too, right?
Yeah.
For healthcare, et cetera, right?
Yeah, healthcare for life, a whole life insurance policy where the district pays a premium until the guy dies, even after he's retired from the district.
I'm curious, because when we talk about politicians, every time there's a debate about raising a politician's pay, you'll hear the hue and cry from the public. But for the parents and the taxpayers of the particular city or community that the superintendent, what's been the reaction so far? Have they been shocked at the math, or have they said, well, my guy deserves it?
Well, it was interesting in Brewster, after the parents there were very upset because when they did this retroactive approval, it was on the same night that the school board eliminated 13 jobs. And they had to retroactively approve allowing her to cash in 5 more vacation days. And this happened the same night. And the parents were very upset about that because the juxtaposition of it just was not good. In fact, the next day, the superintendent agreed that next year she and her 3 other administrators wouldn't cash in 10 days next year and agreed to freeze their salaries. So and also pay more in health care premiums. So there was a reaction in Brewster. We still haven't heard it from the other districts as much.
This isn't the first time you've taken a look at pay packages for schools. Has this been a constant trend line, or has it spiked in recent years?
No, this has been going on. And I did the same thing. I think it was 16 years ago.
It was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, and the top guy made $235,000. Yeah, it was 16 years ago. Now the top guy, he was in Irvington, Vin Benny. Now the top guy is making $440. So you can see this has been long-standing. These are the superstars in the education arena. Our region is known for having some of the top public schools in America, also some of the top paid educators in America. So this is just part of the culture that we live in.
But it is not without consequence. And as you get into the piece here, there are some certain financial realities that municipalities are dealing with right now. And when you have this much, especially in the back end of these contracts, of overhang, as we saw, you mentioned before in Brewster, people are having to make some tough economic decisions. And this is, like I said, a big nut at the end of the contract here that's going to be there, especially because they got to bring someone else and that person leaves anyway.
Yeah. Now, if they bring somebody else in, the person who they bring in after these people typically are far less paid, not as much, because it's the longer that you keep them, the more expensive. Like the guy in Mamaroneck, they just signed him to an additional 5-year contract with a $21,000 bonus for every year that he completes in the next 5 years.
And I was curious about that, David. Are the bonuses attached to longevity, or is it to performance? How the schools or the kids
just completing it, just completing the
that
year.
That surprised me because I figured if you looked at what's the graduation rates, how do they fall in terms of standardized testing versus the state average or whatever. I just found in the reporting it's how long are you here for?
Yeah. Now, there are some, like the guy in Briarcliff was getting a merit bonus. He'd gotten a couple of merit bonuses, $10,000 one year, $12,000 the next. But in Mamaroneck, he was making $270 a year salary, pretty good in the public sector. But in order to, I guess, keep him there, an extra $21,000 every year, which was, I'd never seen that.
No. I'm sure every time we've talked about this, people always say, well, where can I find out mine? Go to LoHud.com. You'll see, as I said, he looks at all the school superintendents for Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam here. You can see the math for your particular district and superintendent, and I know there will be plenty of questions attached to it. And I'm very curious as to your mailbox from some of the folks. Always loving when the salaries are posted. David, as always, great job. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And up next, our exclusive theater review segment starring John Simon. Well, tonight, he looks at Lobby Hero. It's a play featuring Captain America star Chris Evans.